Becky Morgan, one of the key women in my life that God used to bring me back to Him. In 2019, I found myself working through a lot of reconstructing my faith after a season of heavy deconstruction. In that period of deconstructing my faith, I found myself questioning a lot of my beliefs and traditions I had held. This was an incredibly isolating experience for me to go through because though I was doing seemingly everything right as a Christian, I just could not force myself to believe what I was told to believe. There were beliefs I had adopted as a Christian that had more roots in tradition than in the Bible. There were more roots in idolatry than there were in the way of Jesus. And so as I began working through the inventory of my beliefs and my faith, I felt like I did not have many people I could go to be honest about where I was at. But there was one person along with a couple others who rose up. One of those people being Miss Morgan. I met Miss Morgan in 2015 when I took her economics class my senior year of high school. We easily connected over our love for the TV series The Office, and she pushed me into falling in love with the sister show Parks and Recreation. Our sense of humor brought us together, but it was conversations about our faith that really stood the test of time. All throughout that year, we had conversation after conversation about Calvinism, whether someone can lose their salvation, about female leadership in the church, and much more. These conversations were challenging to me because at the time I was deeply tribal. I had my Reformed Baptist, complementarian, Christian Reconstructionist views that I was firmly planted in. But then, Miss Morgan, who was seemingly on the opposite end of the spectrum when it came to all of those issues, came into my life. And though at the time I thought it was impossible, she showed me time and time again, even though she disagreed with me, she loved Jesus just as much as I did, if not more. In 2019, as I broke free of my tribalist roots, her voice rang in my ear as I came to the realization that Jesus has way more room at the table than for just my tribe that I had grown up in. Jesus broke down those walls we put up, and her presence gave me comfort that I would be all right. That I too had a place at Jesus' table even after I broke out of my own tribe. She showed me that in a time where I felt spiritually homeless, that Jesus had a home for me. This interview may be challenging for some people to listen to. You may hate everything she says, and at one point, I would have agreed. I would have been with you. I would have hated everything she said too. But after almost 10 years of knowing Miss Morgan, she has shown me so much grace and love and mercy. She checks in on me regularly. She encourages me routinely. And as me and my now wife were dating, we regularly met with Miss Morgan, as she is a woman in my life that means the world to me. She's a friend of my family. She means the world to me because I look up to her. I want to be as critical of a thinker as she is. I want to be able to feel free enough to follow Jesus wherever he takes me, just like she does. Thank you, Miss Morgan, for being a continual light in my life, and thank you for letting me share that with others. If you're listening, please rate and review our show. It truly helps the podcast get seen by others, and don't forget to hit share with a friend right now. We're all in this journey together, and hope you enjoy.
Wanted to scream into the conversation because I understand.
Yeah.
First of all, y'all went into saying that the second trilogy that was released, which is really the first part of the story, was the better of all of it.
Yeah.
That's nonsense.
That's
absolute nonsense. That's not true. Those are the worst.
But see,
they're painful to watch.
As a kid, like, that's when I grew up with Star Wars.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
so that was like, to me, that's the original.
Well, that I was alive when those were put out. I wasn't alive when the first trilogy, which is the second part of the story, was released. But
and then try to, if the first ones you've ever seen are the episode 1, 2, and 3, going back to watch bad special effects and the old ones, and you're as a kid, you're just like, why did the quality suddenly get so bad?
Okay, I get it, but oh my gosh. And Princess Amidala and the whole thing, just a real big disappointment from what she should have been to what she became. The only part, and I would argue this, the only part of that series, which is probably one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars, I would say that one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars came from that second set that was released, which is the first part of the story, but it's in that last episode where Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting on can't remember the name of the planet, but it's on fire.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're fighting, and Obi-Wan was like, "You were supposed to,
be the chosen one."
Yeah, you're the chosen one, Anakin. And then you're my brother, I love you, or whatever. That was that's the best scene. It's great, but it stands apart from all the other junk that was in that series. And Princess Amidala was not given what she should have been. I think they tried to go back and fix a little bit of that in the cartoon series Clone Wars, I think it was.
Yeah.
And you kind of see her character a little more as a strong character and not.
You even watched that?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you're like.
I haven't watched all of it. That's one of my. I don't have really anything else to watch, and now today I'm gonna go and put that on and let that play while I'm doing something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do, and it's valuable to the Star Wars series if you say that. Okay, yes, you get to see the strength that Amidala Padme was intended to have, but they took away from her in that second release. Well, the first episodes 1, 2, and 3. And you also get more of the story of the closeness between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And why he did view him as a brother.
Yeah.
And why Anakin's fall was so hurtful to Obi-Wan. You get it because you see in that series how they fought alongside each other for so long.
Did you watch Obi-Wan?
Yeah, and I liked it. I could see where people have problems with it because have you watched it? I don't want to give it have you watched any of it?
I think I watched half of it, and I kind of forgot it existed.
Oh, I really liked that one too.
Now.
Now my husband would say that he doesn't like it because it was a disappointment because you're supposed to, Darth Vader's supposed to be the strongest user of the Force, but Obi-Wan, finds ways to defeat him or whatever. But I try to argue that I think they try to explain that in that he may be the strongest, but Obi-Wan knows how he fights.
Yeah.
And knows what his weaknesses are.
Wouldn't Obi-Wan be the wisest? And so it's you may be the strongest, but that doesn't mean you know how to use your strength.
Yeah, something like that. So I would argue that you could, still justify the decisions that the writers made on that. But, Ranch just wanted to see Darth Vader giving, total destruction. Just bringing it all down. Let's see his power.
To be clear, too, though, I do like the newer ones.
Okay.
But I'm also the one who I like terrible movies.
Okay.
So I don't know if my opinion is the most trustworthy.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
I felt like the story with Rey, I don't know. I felt like it was inspiring to watch, and I didn't really care for the second one.
The second trilogy. One, because it wasn't. I agree. It wasn't the same director.
I really liked the first one, and the third one. I mean, I feel like I understand why it is what it is. It's just because he has to fix all the mistakes the second one made.
Yes.
And so I give him credit.
Yes.
And then still, I feel like it ended on a good note.
Yeah. I'm okay with the, I'm with you. I agree completely. The second movie, not. There was a lot of mistakes made.
I'm definitely not the guy whose only issue with those movies is that there's a woman as the main character.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a conversation in Sunday school once.
Was that women? Because it was a.
Someone said like, they're even replacing. They're taking men out of the hero roles, and even Luke Skywalker's been replaced with a woman. And I was like, I mean, maybe in some other movie situations that could be a case, but I didn't feel like it was a strong feminist like agenda present in those movies at all. I felt like it was just storytelling.
I feel like in that case it doesn't matter who was the hero or the heroine.
Yeah.
Why would that deter anybody from there are other things wrong with the story that you could say, okay, these are the things I don't like, but just to say that it ain't good because there's a woman lead as learning to use the Force. No, that's not a good argument.
But that gets us on the topic because it's kind of like the same.
So you did know my dissertation was on Star Wars?
I did not know that. What?
Yes, you didn't know that?
No.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So my dissertation was. That's weird. Okay, so my dissertation was. It's the curriculum of femininity taught through Star Wars films. Basically, so it's a look at how popular culture, specifically Star Wars, is teaching women who they are in that specific time period, or their role in that specific time period. And it's based on like cultural expectations and all of that, and what we expect women to be or want women to be. So when you look at Princess Leia in that first, which is the second part of the story, but it was the first release. She was seen as like a strong female character of the time, but there's a lot of flaws in her too as a female, quote, strong woman.
Yeah.
Right. So she stands up for what she believes in, and she's a fighter. But once she gets, so this is like a really deep dive into the curriculum of Star Wars, and I'm going to nerd out. So once she gets with Han Solo, her role is very diminished. Like for the rest of like the first film, it's like she's there.
Yeah.
She does wait to be rescued, and she's like kept in a room. She's like sleeping on a bench or whatever, I don't know. But she waits to be rescued, which is not really a strong woman thing to do. Especially since we know that she was very intelligent and that she, could plan an escape. But she didn't. She waited to be rescued. So that was kind of telling of what we expected women, how we think women should be.
Yeah.
They need to be rescued by men. And then once she got with Han Solo, her role in the fighting really took a back seat. And she's really kind of in the back part of the story, really. So anyway, that just kind of, she's independent and she's fighting, and then once she gets a man, she takes a back seat and he gets to go. He goes and fights. He goes and fights for the cause, but she's, and she's leading, I think, giving some commands from this like planet somewhere. I don't know, but it's just once she had a man, he can go do the fighting for her, right?
Yeah.
All right. So then you had the expectation in the second, which is the first part of the story, but the second release series, of Princess Amidala being like she's supposed to be this really strong leader woman, and and you kind of see that a little bit in the first of those films, but then by the second and third, especially the third film, she is literally just some broken-hearted woman that dies of a broken heart. She literally dies of a broken heart. So, like, it's just such a disappointment. Like,
yeah.
In how we... yeah. So we didn't do a good job in that case. I mean, it was just like her role was supposed to be being a romantic interest.
Yeah.
You know? And so she didn't really get to show... I don't think she showed her strength like she should have. And so then we get to Ray, who is becoming a hero of the story. And like The Force Awakens is really sort of a kind of a good title for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're looking at, you know, the curriculum now is showing us, you know, about women is that you can be a force, you know, you can be strong, you can lead, and you can fight for the causes, and you could be the heroine. You know, you don't have to take the back seat to love or die of broken hearts. That's not, that doesn't have to be you.
Yeah.
You know, it just looks at how, and my dissertation goes into a lot more detail about women at the time and how that relate. Anyway, but yeah, that's I'm a doctor of Star Wars.
Apparently, yeah.
I wrote the book on it now. Just kidding. But yeah, so that's funny that you brought that up. Have I sufficiently bored you with my commentary on this?
I'm very shocked that talking about the Mandalorian sweater that you're wearing led to going into your dissertation.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm just like trying to wrap my mind around everything. So that does make me think about, though, because you're talking about how Princess Leia, she kind of got disserviced or whatever when she fell in love with Han, and then she just becomes a love interest, right? Okay. And then how
it's like you start seeing her story through romance.
Yeah.
Instead of, I mean, and yeah, she still fights. Like, there's still scenes of it, but it's not like it was in the first.
Yeah.
And then you know, we get into the golden bikini scene and this objectification of women through her. So that weakens, you know, in a lot of people's, you know, sort of feminist perspective, it weakens her, like, she's objectified. Like, she's objectified in that scene. Like, that was in there for the male gaze.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
It makes me think, though, about how I read that book, The Making of Biblical Womanhood, and one of the arguments she points out is that throughout church history, the importance, like, the way you showed a woman's importance in society was based on their relationship with a man. Either it was like at one point, after the Reformation, it took a shift. Before the Reformation, it was you're honored. The best woman is the single woman who just serves God, and then the widow, because now she is single and she can serve God, and then the married woman was like the lowest.
Right.
And then after the Reformation, it flipped, and it was the married woman is the most important thing a woman could be. Then a widow, because she still should be somehow like committed, and then the single woman is like bottom of the barrel. We're gonna overlook her and kind of Then that gets into like how singles are viewed in the church.
Yes.
But that's what it made me think of, was just how even in church history, where the only role women play is based on who their husbands are, and reading that book opened up my eyes to how many women actually are out there in church history that you just never hear about. And even as you're talking too, it made me think about like the female characters in the Bible, how little it pays attention to their romantic relationships. Like, we're going through the Christmas story, and me and Berlin are going through the Christmas story, and Mary and Joseph's relationship is like the back burner the entire time. Like, it's mentioned like she's engaged, but the whole time it's about her and her conversations with God and the angel, and then giving birth. and then the rest of the story, like, we don't even know what happened to Joseph. Like, but just how in the Bible it was doing this really radical thing of it wasn't portraying Mary as just, oh, she's the side character to the story. Mm-hmm. Joseph's the main character. He's going to lead Jesus to become the man he needs to be. Rather, you see Mary the entire time show up and just be there for Jesus. And
are we assuming that,
raise him, yeah.
That she taught Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're assuming she taught him things.
Yeah.
As a mom, we're assuming that Mary, a woman, was able to teach Jesus things in the human world as a mom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a very important role.
Yeah. And then how Jesus, because he's God, so he's perfect, he actually sees the value Mary has, his mom. Mm-hmm. So then you see that in his ministry of, he's like the only rabbi who's calling women to follow him too. And you see all these women following Jesus. Mm-hmm. And some are mentioned in the Bible, but then there's even the fact that they're mentioned is like, that's something crazy to do at that time. Mm-hmm. For like these ancient books to mention that, oh, Jesus had women following him too. Yeah. And that these women were going around preaching and taking these leadership positions. And I don't know, it's opening up my eyes to how much women actually have played a part in the Bible. Because before growing up Southern Baptist, and even them being in the Reform camp, you read the Bible just with your own lens, or the lens you were given. Mm-hmm. And so you only see what you're trained to see. Mm-hmm. But then when you bring, say it's a black person, it's your reading of the scriptures, he's going to start pointing out, he's like, that's like my homeland. This is part of the culture. This is like, they start pointing out things that you would have, as a white guy, I would have never noticed. And then same with women. When I started reading books by women, then it started to like make sense. And even starting to like pay attention to things you were saying or my mom was saying, it was like, oh, there's a lot of the Bible I'm missing.
Yes.
And
and that's one of that's the point.
Yeah.
It's when you're only listening to a male perspective, there's a lot of things that get lost for women. And even for the whole, like, there's valuable lessons from a woman's, in my opinion, there's valuable lessons from a woman's point of view. We view the world differently. We have different vulnerabilities. The things that we are fearful of are definitely not the things that men are fearful of.
Yeah.
And if we never give value to that perspective, I think the whole society loses, the whole church loses. Because we're, like you said, we're missing big parts. Like big parts of the Bible by only hearing one perspective.
Yeah. Well, it even makes me think of like, if we were paying attention to the voices of women throughout church history and in the Bible, how much more that actually do for the church. Because like in our cultural moment, you have a bunch of women who are like, they know they're called for more, and they're like wanting to rise up in a sense. Mm-hmm. And instead of the church being like scared of it, if we would just be like, no, the Bible says you have a role and a responsibility, you have capabilities too, like you shouldn't be diminished, then that would, I feel like it would help. It would leave a big impact on where our culture is right now.
I'm trying to word things in a way that's not putting my thoughts together in words is always, I'm better writing. I can write and type forever, but trying to vocalize it get a little bit, anyway. I do think that there's big conversations that are being left out when women aren't being allowed to teach or allowed to preach.
Sit in the room.
Or be in the room, like be in the room, being a part of the conversations. about big topics, big issues. There's a hidden curriculum in that.
Yeah.
Right. So there's something we're teaching our church about how to value women, about how to respect women, about how to listen or not listen to them.
Yeah.
I mean, if the church is supposed to be the most important thing, in your life, one of the most, if it's the cornerstone, sort of thing about how about your social relationships, but it's modeling. If it's modeling a view that women should not be heard, or women should not be invited to the room, then that's gonna basically spill over into the secular world too, and into our other parts of our lives.
Yeah.
Right. There's a hidden curriculum about we're teaching our boys, our men, that the only valuable perspective is the man's perspective.
Yeah.
Right. So
it kind of makes me think about how, like, for me growing up, I kind of feel bad for saying this because I don't want to bash the church that I grew up in.
Right.
But, like, just the reality of it was the view I had of women was they're a threat to my purity, and they are a danger, and I need to guard them. Like, guarding myself away from them.
Yeah.
And so then that translates into how I viewed women for the longest was, okay, well, you're just some sexual being that is dangerous to me.
Right.
Instead of you probably you're not thinking about any of that stuff at all. You're just a regular human being who has your own goals and dreams and desires, and they probably have nothing to do with me.
Right.
And just how, like, growing up, no one, like, clearly had, like, ABC, this is how that's laid out, but it's just, like, subtle teachings of, like, your true love waits and all that stuff of be careful about, or even, like, sometimes in, like I grew up going to, like, brotherhood meetings where it's just a bunch of men, and the conversation about women was, well, they make it hard for us to go to the beach because they're causing us lust all the time. And what flipped was reading Rachel Den Hollander's book, What is a Girl Worth?
Yeah.
And her talking about how maybe it's not the woman's problem for how she was dressing, but maybe it's the man's problem for how he was looking at her.
His gaze.
And then, it puts all the responsibility back on men, the thing that we say we want, like, which, like, gets into my issue with men of, like, we talk so much about how we're workaholics, but then we get home and we're the laziest people ever. And we talk about how, like, this generation of men needs to take responsibility, but then when it comes to our relationships with women and how we view them, we don't take responsibility at all. We just put it all on, the woman, she's the problem. They need to go teach them in the women's group how to dress themselves. Instead of, as men, we need to conform how we look at people into the way Jesus looks at them.
When you said they can go to the women's group and speak, it's like, you can teach, and you can teach the women, and y'all can teach each other, and y'all can work. But what it does is it allows men to escape and not hear the things that they need to hear.
Yeah.
About the vulnerabilities and the perspectives of women. Like, y'all don't have to hear it. Like, you don't have to hear what you were just talking about. You get to say it's their fault instead of, why aren't, if women are invited to this conversation, allowed to speak, or perspectives being heard by the whole church, then the whole church can learn to view women differently and respect women being and personality, and it's again, I think using that example of women women can go to the women's group and teach women's Sunday school classes or whatever, we're just saying that men don't want to hear what women have to say.
Yeah.
It's like we don't have anything valuable to add, and then it's the assumption too of like, why do you think you know what I'm gonna say?
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't know what we're gonna say. You don't know our perspectives. You don't know what we're gonna say about a particular passage. What we're gonna pull out of the scriptures that you didn't see. Like you don't know. You don't know because you don't view the world as we do.
Yeah. I wonder if that's why there's so much like with like the Me Too movement. Of why it's so quick for men to, they hear that a woman's been abused or mistreated, and the immediate response is, oh, that's all y'all ever talk about. And it's because that's the only time we actually pay attention to things you hear. It's when you're seemingly attacking us as men.
Yeah. Is that why the decisions are made to keep women out? Because y'all are scared we're just gonna attack you from the pulpit?
Yeah. I think so, because
like it's just another way of nagging you. I mean, like is that like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you posed the question, when we were talking about talking points for today or whatever. You posed the question of it was something about why
do we get uncomfortable with the idea of women in leadership?
Yeah, why are we uncomfortable with that? And in my response and taking, kind of writing down some notes, I was like, I don't know. I don't know why we're uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
Yeah. So
why are we? Like, you tell me, why are we uncomfortable? Why are we uncomfortable with it?
It's, again, one of those things where it's, like, not spelled out clearly, but it's from being in the reform movement and being in the church leadership rooms and all, and like now listening to more women and like being able to point things out, I think there's the culture war going on, and feminism is usually associated with the left, and any women's issue is associated with the left. So liberal, and liberal means bad, and the men in leadership view that all women are, like, usually they view women as, y'all are the weaker vessel, y'all bought into the culture war without even realizing it, and we don't want to let you in because even giving you the opportunity to speak would be us letting like liberal ideas come in. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the idea that I feel like I've been hearing more and more of, like, you listen to a lot of their like reform guys speaking who are very complementarian, and the whole argument is it's always a slippery slope. You let a woman speak at
oh my gosh
at Sunday school,
oh gosh,
not even in the pulpit, and well, that's just a slippery slope, and she's going to start taking control over the church, and then it's going to be a bunch of women in charge, and they're going to lead us into heresy and God knows what.
How limiting.
Yes.
How dehumanizing.
Yeah.
How demoralizing.
Yeah.
Is that perspective for a woman to say you basically your little brain's not capable of knowing.
Yeah.
It's
well, it's not honest, because the reality is if we're being honest, the women do run the church. Or they're not making all the big decisions, but the reason our church doors are always open is because women fill up the church way more than the men do.
Right.
Like, the example at the Bridge is that the Bridge didn't have a men's group for the longest. We could not get our men together. The women's group was thriving for years before our men's group ever started, and the only reason the men's group started was because the women's group like inspired the guys to be like get our stuff together. Right.
So how does the women's group operate here?
Oh, Dean.
Like, okay, so we like, what do we do?
Yes.
So we come in and we just start with like a normal conversation, and then we do our prayers, and we then pull out scripture and start reading together, and we all like to relate it to our everyday life and what we're going through and how it just pulls into our life.
Yeah. And everyone's a part of the conversation?
Oh, yeah. Everybody.
And that's why you have women participating in that group.
Yeah.
Because it's a place for them to be involved in the dialogue.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not being shut down.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why it can take off.
Yeah.
And that's why they come. And
yeah.
It's like there is a place for them to feel like their perspective is valued, that they are valued.
Yeah.
Right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Is that what you feel when you are there? Like, yeah. So I'm learning and I'm also teaching at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I could go into some really deep
and
pedagogy here about, I could get really philosophical here. I don't know how deep we want to go, but
run with it.
So just going back to my education background here. There's the philosopher Paulo Freire. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but he writes a book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And the book is about the importance of education for liberation, right? So in it, he talks about the idea of the oppressor and the oppressed. And he says that the way that a system is oppressive is if there's what he calls a banking method of teaching, a banking method of education, which is I stand here and I teach you all the things that you need to know, and I'm just depositing bits of knowledge into your brain like I'm depositing money into the bank, right? Now, all you do is receive it, and that's it. You just receive the knowledge that I'm giving you, and that is the banking method, and he says that is oppressive, right? He says to get out of that oppressive type of teaching, of education, that there has to be a dialogue. Dialogue has to take place, and the teacher values the student as much as the student values the teacher. And that's how you get out of this oppressive type of education. I mean, so in terms of the women's group, they're all valuing each other's perspective, right? Like they're teaching and they're learning at the same time. And when one woman talks, she's teaching someone else who is learning from her, and then when this woman talks over here, she's in turn, they're learning from each other, and there's value in that. But when we have one person in the front, and there's not conversation, we're just banking that pieces of information that they need to have memorized and banking that, just banking knowledge into them, that all we're doing is perpetuating the system of the oppressed.
Yeah.
Right? All we're doing is perpetuating this idea of I'm important and you're subordinate.
Yeah. Which kind of gets into, like, Beth Allison Barr, she was talking about how my biggest struggle for the longest was when people would say that Mary Magdalene preached when she told everyone that Jesus raised from the dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, how's that preaching? Like, there's no pulpit. There's no, like, she's just going telling people on the street that Jesus rose from the dead.
Yeah.
But then Beth brought up how, well, the church back then wasn't set up how it is today.
No.
And that was like the big eye-opening moment, because I was like, duh.
In the pocket.
I know that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, there was a disconnect when it came to that one conversation. And I was like, oh, yeah. Jesus did that all the time. He did exactly what Mary Magdalene was doing, of just telling people on the street, and that was considered preaching. And how the church, the early church, wasn't set up with this like idolatry, the pulpit of one person gets up,
right?
It's his show.
Yeah. Everybody
listens, and like we praise him for the holy words he's speaking. But rather, even when you read about like Paul's letters, he talks about how like there's women standing up and they're communicating the same things he's communicating.
Yeah.
They're teaching, they're preaching. But we forget that culture has changed so much over the years, and we forget to like I think this is just like a common issue just with reading the Bible in general, is we come to the Bible with our 21st century perspectives.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to like get into the world of the Bible, which is where it then really explodes on how like radical and crazy some of the Christian truths are. We forgot.
Yeah. So she talks about in her podcast, she says there wasn't this idea of a senior pastor or a ministering pastor or a, preaching pastor or whatever. Like there wasn't this idea of like this one head pastor of a church, that we have now taken scripture and said that that's what this meant. How could it mean that? It wasn't around then. How could it mean that?
Yeah.
Right? But that depends on your interpretation, and so like I know people interpret things differently.
Yeah. But then that gets to like, even you used to mention to me a lot about what, like 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy?
Yeah.
And you'd always say like, well, we don't like apply the part about like women adorning themselves,
right,
or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the last couple of years, I've been getting away from like the traditions and trying to read my Bible through the lens of like, this is how the people read it in that time period.
Yeah.
And one of the podcasts I had recently listened to was Bayma. And they're like these Bible scholars, and they take you into the Jewish world, and it's not even them like walking through Bible verses. It's they're painting the scene of what's going on. And then you realize how much Paul is like pulling from the culture.
Right.
He's pulling it, and he'll put a little twist at the end, which is a lot of what the Old Testament was doing too. And with the passages in like 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy and then Titus about the qualifications for elders.
Yeah.
That wasn't a blueprint of this is how it's always going to be. This like set in stone. Women can't be pastors. He's writing a letter specifically to Timothy and Titus. These pastors, young new pastors of these churches, and he's like, this is what you need to, the standard you need to hold yourself to.
Right.
And if you bring people in, like adapt it to them, but like to like whatever gender they are. But this is a letter written specifically to Timothy and specifically to Titus, dealing with the issues specifically in their local churches of what was going on and the culture and the time period. But it's not a take 1 Timothy and drop it into the 21st century and try to apply it there, because it's not going to work.
Right. Gosh, you said something just had me. I was ready to pounce on that one. Now I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh yeah, all right, yeah. So I mean, anytime you read the scripture, I do think it is important that you think about, who said it.
Yeah.
When did they say it? Why? Where? All of those things. The context matters. And if we don't consider the context around each scripture, I think we are losing meaning.
Yeah.
I think we are losing the importance there. And I know what it was. You talked about like we don't focus on women wearing gold or having fancy hairdos or adorning themselves. We don't focus on that part so much anymore. Like, if a woman wears gold to church or has fancy hair, all right, okay. Yeah. She likes to fix up.
Yeah.
But we latch on to that part about women not being able to teach a man, and I think that's cherry picking, right?
Yeah.
We're going through and we're saying these are the passages that we are going to take literally now and forever, and then over here, but these are the passages that are only subjected to cultural context.
Yeah.
Right. So the culture back then, they shouldn't wear gold to church, but now it's okay. But we don't ever say the culture back then was women, in that particular church needed to stop talking for whatever reason. But that things have changed now. So we don't ever it's not looked at that way by some churches' doctrines. Some churches, they allow women leadership, and then some don't.
Well, we apparently have, like, we are so ignorant, and I'm not meaning that like a mean way, but like, I know I've been ignorant of the fact that, like, the way you're raised and the way you've been taught already informs how you view the world now.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize that. They just think, oh, well, it was just a blank slate. And that's a lie. Like, for years and years, the reason you are the person you are today is because of things that happened in the past. And that applies to our Bible reading is there's things that you haven't realized that are going into how you read your Bible. And part of being a good Bible reader is doing the work to uncover, okay, what trauma have I dealt with? How did my parents raise me? What church was I a part of? Was I not a part of a church? Like, taking into account all your baggage that you're actually bringing into your reading of the Bible that you need to be aware of, so that then you can decipher and let go of some stuff and then approach the Bible on its own terms.
Right.
And let it actually speak for itself. Because even, like, we used to talk about predestination a ton.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I thought the Bible's sole purpose was to tell people that they're predestined either to go to heaven or hell.
Yeah.
Only to, like, again, like, going through, like, a deconstruction period and realizing Paul could care less about predestination. He mentions it in one chapter in Romans. The rest of the chapter, or the rest of the book, is all about trying to get this multi-ethnic church to realize you're both terrible people. You need Jesus. Like, that's the entire book. But we focus, like, in the Reformed tradition, we'd focus just on the predestination part.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's because of the tradition you're raised in. Of they are telling you what to look for, and they're not encouraging you to go to the Bible on its own terms. They're encouraging you to go to the Bible on your terms or their terms.
We tend to look at, like you said, you're using whatever lens you were brought up in to view the world instead of seeing the world as Christ would see the world.
Yeah.
And one way I have a hard time reconciling with the idea that if Christ, like in Christ's time, hypothetically,
Yeah.
right, he's walking with his disciples, and there's a woman over here who decides to teach other people about Christ and what he's doing and what this means. And the disciples were trying to make her be quiet because she's a woman. I have a hard time reconciling with the idea that Christ would say, yeah, woman, you need to sit down. No. Christ and his character, in my heart, and what I feel, Christ would say, let her speak.
Yeah, well, isn't that literally the woman at the well story?
Yeah, like it's like let her speak, right? Like
Yeah.
It's why would you, as if you're looking at, you know, the world through Christ as the way Christ saw the world, which is, isn't that our calling?
Yeah.
And it to be more like him?
Yeah.
Well, he was welcoming of women.
Yeah.
And their perspectives, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you get into the story of Mary and Martha, right? And I always get them, which one is which confused. I'm going to do my best, okay? Anyway. So Martha, I think she goes into she goes to Jesus and she's like, I've been doing all the work, you know.
Yeah.
I've been here doing all the work. And Mary is sitting at, you know, the feet of Jesus, listening. And, you know, I think we tend to take that scripture and we say, okay, well, this is talking about, you know, the value of listening to the teaching and taking time to be still and hear what Jesus has to say. But if we put that in the cultural context at the time, Mary was in the room.
Yeah.
She was in the room with the men.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, this is what's important. Being a part of it, right?
Yeah.
And Martha, at the time, that was like, no, the place, this, you know, here we go with this curriculum of place, like where do women belong, right? So Martha is saying our place is back here. doing all this busy work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And Christ
kitchen,
yeah. And that's what we do, right? Gosh, we serve at the socials. We wash the dishes afterwards.
Take care of the kids.
We take care of the kids, right? So that's our place. That's what Martha was saying. Like, this is our place.
Yeah.
And Christ said, no, it's not.
Yeah.
No, she's welcome in this room, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't know. It's
even that, like,
it's not like so this is where my struggle is, like, as a person. To confront the things in my heart that I feel like is wrong with the church, but you're not rejecting the church.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a rejection, which people would argue, well, like, you just don't believe in the Word of God if you say that this scripture does not mean that. Yeah. It's not that at all. It's saying no, like, I think we should confront the church for the things that they just might not have quite right, or that they might be misinterpreting.
Yeah.
And
well, the whole idea,
but it's not a rejection.
No, it's
right?
The idea of Christianity of you're supposed to die to yourself. Of you have a person you were before Christ, and every bit of it needs to be, like, reshaped and remodeled, and that includes whatever perspectives you had before Jesus. And even the, like, when it comes to the group of the church, sometimes the church needs to die too. Or the church does need to die to be conformed into the image and likeness of Jesus. That's the whole idea of being born again, of you're not supposed to be trapped into who you were, or who the culture is, or whatever traditions you're a part of. The goal is for you to become more like Jesus. Right,
this renewal.
Yeah.
Right, so if we really want to latch on to what Paul was saying in the Bible, over and over again, he talks about the renewal.
Yeah.
Right, of becoming someone new in Christ, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not, let's keep being stagnant. Let's hold on to, it's how are we constantly renewed? And constantly discovering what Christ would have us, think, believe, act. That's the big message, I think, from Paul.
Oh, yeah. Well, something Allison Barr, I think, was saying, too, was, like, if you map, like, all of Paul's letters, he has this constant theme of oneness. Of he's, in the cultures that he's dealing with, they're constantly fighting with one another. They're very tribal. They're very stuck in their ways, and they're having trouble coming together under Jesus' lordship. And so that's why, like, in Romans, it's Jews and Gentiles trying to be in one church together, and they have different cultures and customs, and he's like, neither one of you is better than the other. You both suck. Come to Jesus.
Yeah.
And
men, don't use these arguments in your prayers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't argue when you're praying just to get your point across. Like, Lord Jesus, please help this man see that I'm right,
Yeah. And even in Ephesians, of that whole, the household codes, which were, like, verbatim taken from the culture. They had household codes in the Roman Empire. And Paul takes those same codes and he drops them into the Bible, and he says, okay, but we're going to put a twist on it. Instead of husbands look at your wives as property and demean them, I want you to love them.
Right.
Which is still something men need to hear today, of, like, the thing we struggle with most is actually loving and caring for the women in our life. But he takes that, and then at the
you're not taught how.
No.
Because there's no one from that perspective teaching you how.
No.
It's men, you should love your wife as Christ loved the church. All right, well, that's great.
Yeah, that means you...
How do I do that? And I don't know.
Yeah.
You just said love them. Okay, I love them.
But then, it means as men, you humble yourselves, you get on your knees, and you wash your wife's feet. which is what Jesus did with his church all the time. But then that means you're going to put your wife above you.
Right.
And that means you're going to have to, in a sense, you're going to have to submit, which is another big teaching of Christianity is we're all servants. We're all looking to outserve one another. And none of us takes like the top seat at the table, but we all aim for the bottom seat because that's where the actual honor is. But he's not just saying that to women, which is usually what that's twisted to. He's saying that to his disciples who are like arguing about who's going to be the greatest and whatnot. He's like, you're missing the point. Like, the greatest is the one who humbles himself.
We're all supposed to be submissive to
that's
the word.
Yeah.
I think when you say that, you know, that God has created a woman to, and doing so, that she's created to be submissive is that's a sign in these particular expectations on, you know, women based on their biology. It's saying that God created her to be lesser than.
Yeah.
But that's I don't think that's right. I don't think that's true. And then they would say, it's not lesser than you being submissive to men, you not teaching men. That's not lesser than. Your role is different than. You know, it's you should. God's given you other responsibilities. God's given you other things to do, but not lead and not teach. But the fact that you're being kept out, it's setting up a system of, of better than and less than.
Yeah.
When you're not allowed in, you're less than.
Yeah. When you're not acknowledged.
When you're not acknowledged, we're not valued. And they say, oh, we value women. Yeah. But how are you showing them that, you know? How do you show them value in the church?
Yeah.
Well, we let them, you know, clean up after us when we have our meals. And we value that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like the men are scared to like see the women thrive like in their spirituality, and like they're scared that the women are gonna be more faithful. I think that's how you would word that.
Yeah.
But
that's what one of the shocking things about my mom was that like kind of helped open my eyes was that realization of, for the longest time I thought my dad went to this Bible Institute. I thought all those stacks of paper and notebooks were his.
Yeah.
Only to realize that those are my mom's, and she was teaching him.
Wow. Yeah.
And I kept them because I'm like, that's so cool that my dad, like, he does take his Bible reading very seriously.
Yeah.
But thinking about it, I'm like, it does make sense that he wouldn't go to school. Like,
right.
He's not that guy. My mom is that woman, though, of all these notes that have perfect handwriting, definitely not my dad's, are my mom's. And she's the one who's probably thrived the most spiritually in their relationship. And that's not a knock on my dad. He's got his own struggles, and he's like a very godly man. But like, my mom is the one who in our household has shown the most faithfulness to God. And she's the one there's so many reasons why she should have walked away from Jesus and everybody, and yet she hasn't. And she's genuinely committed to Jesus. Even when it gets super rough. And like, I feel like more like my dad sometimes, of like, me and Jesus are like in a tug of war, and I don't know if I'm gonna commit to him tomorrow. Like, he kind of annoys me sometimes. But my mom, not that she doesn't have struggles, she does. And like, I've seen her at her breaking points, but over the story of her life, she's definitely like the most faithful woman I've ever seen. And realizing that was when I was starting to realize, oh my gosh, like, my mom has way more to teach me about the Bible than I ever realized. And I should probably shut my mouth sometimes and just listen to her.
Yeah.
Which then it was part of what started me down the whole like rabbit hole trail, whatever, of, okay, well, what do women actually think?
Yeah. You talked about earlier, you said that we got to come to, when we sit down and we look at the Bible, when we look at Scripture, we're bringing our past with us. Like, we're bringing all of our experience with us. And I think that's, perhaps that's why I view the Bible like I did, or like I do. And the topic of women and leadership like I do. My dad was third generation minister. And at the time he was going through, at the time when he was a minister, like the churches weren't allowing women pastors, women leaders at the time. But that never deterred my dad from making sure that my sister and I knew that we had to have basically the skills, to take care of ourselves. Like, I remember when going to college was not an option. Was not an option. Like, you are going to college, you're going to do it, and you are going to be in a position where you do not have to rely on a man to take care of you. I never want that for you. I never want your life to be dependent on someone else taking care of you. And that my sister and I still talk about it. Like, we got that speech a lot. And my brothers came. My brothers are younger than us. There's a kind of a gap between me and my younger brothers. But that wasn't a conversation with them. Like, they both went to college, but they could have chosen not to, and he probably would have just been like, okay, we'll find a trade. Find something that you can support yourself with. Yeah. But with my sister and I, it was no. You're going to be strong enough, and you're going to have the skills, and you're going to have the knowledge, and you're going to have the ability to take care of yourself. And that just kind of instilled in us, like, this idea of the importance of us. Yeah. That we're important enough and strong enough on our own to not have to rely on a man taking care of us, or, of course my dad was telling us what to do, but no other man could, right, that sort of thing. But still, like, even with, you're talking about your mom, but even with my dad being a minister and us going to church and, every Sunday, Wednesdays, and hearing him preach growing up, I would still say my mom was the spiritual leader in the household. Mm-hmm. For her faithfulness, like you said, even through the hard times, she was the one that got all four of us up, on Sunday mornings, got us ready, got us to church, Wednesday nights too. Like, she was the one making that happen, So, like, I learned lessons from my dad, but my goodness, my mom has taught me how to be a Christian. My mom has taught me how to live and love, as a Christian, as Christ would. Yeah. Like, she's the quiet little leader, Yeah. And she's shy, and she would never do this. Oh my goodness, like, she's so backstage, but she, I would say she's the spiritual leader. She's the teacher. She's the one we learn so much from. So.
I think that's the case with a lot of families. Yeah,
I do too. Yeah.
Even though my dad went, he was active in church, my mom, she was the one pushing us to go to church. Even like when we're hurt by the church, she's like, find another one. Mm-hmm. But then, even being a part of the Bridge and realizing how many like single moms come, or like you see a couple get divorced, the husband's the first one to leave. Like, the wife still stays, and she's still active. And even one of the stories in the women's group was like of a couple goes through a divorce, and that women's group surrounded her, cared for her, paused the Bible study, and they're like, we're just going to pray over it, and like, we're going to be here for you as you're going through the worst day of your life. And that lady's thriving now. Right. And just, it makes me realize how
I think we lose those kind of lessons of, let's surround the ones who are going through hard times, whether or not it was self-induced or a complete surprise or whatever, like, we don't touch on that from the pulpit. Like, we might say it, but it's not modeled, like a women's group in that environment where they're learning how to, I mean, let's go back to the reality of the culture.
Yeah.
Women have been taught to hate other women. Like, that's what we've been taught. Like, that's the other women are competition. The other women are you can't trust them. You know, where's this narrative coming from? You know, but it's there, and there's this. You talked about you distrusting women.
Yeah.
Growing up. Well, so do women.
Yeah.
Like.
I didn't think about that.
Right. But that issue may not be thought about. It may not be addressed from the pulpit because maybe it's just not something the man's thinking about. Yeah. Right? It's the perspective that's lost.
Yeah. This is my first time hearing about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I do agree.
Yeah.
We talk about this. I don't.
But like it's.
Yeah.
It's not like we've talked about like your personal like struggles with other girls and stuff. I'm like, in my mind, I'm just like, yeah, I guess that's normal.
That's another girl problem.
But I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
Like, there's an institution behind this, like.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, and there is, and the idea of the dismissal of it, like Berlin just said, is the dismissal. It's just another girl problem. It's a society problem.
Yeah.
It's a cultural problem, and what, if anything, is the church addressing if we're not trying to heal those things? So if we ignore that and pretend like that perspective does not matter from the pulpit, then, you know, I think we're doing an injustice to women. Like I think by just allowing the men to speak, it perpetuates that idea of it's just another girl problem, and it's not. It's like that's what we learn with is this hidden curriculum. It's not. It's. You distrusted women, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You distrusted girls growing up, like what you're saying. I mean, sometimes that stuff is not even said out loud explicitly. It's just in the model, right? It's in these underlying things.
Every time we talk about lust, it's the woman's fault.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then I always get to, well, is that one reason why women can't be leaders and be in the pulpit? Because men don't trust themselves to look at a woman while they're teaching the fearful, like that woman, you know, they may find that woman nice looking, or what is that a reason to keep her out? That's a men problem.
Yeah. And
who are we really to say that we know who God is calling and is not calling?
Yeah.
You know, these women who are trying to preach, trying to be pastor, they're well versed, you know. They understand it as much, if not more, you know, than some of the men in the pulpit. I guarantee you that their perspective is more diverse, right?
Yeah. I remember it was a few years ago. There's this. She was a girl my age, and she felt called to be a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like, I'm curious about why women feel called to be a pastor, but I'm not like.
I'm curious as to why anybody feels called to be a pastor.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because I'm not called to do that.
Yeah.
Right? But if I were, I would understand the calling completely.
Yeah. Well, because growing up, I'm just always thought women, they can't be called. And so I come across a girl who is very adamant, like, I'm called. This is what I'm going for. I'm building my life around it. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, can you explain to me, like, why you feel called? Like, why do you think you feel called? And she's like, explains whatever her story was. And then afterwards, I'm like, well, frick. Mm-hmm. That's like my story of how I felt called. Mm-hmm. Like, exactly. Like, I don't have an experience that I can't say that you're lying.
Right.
You haven't lied before, so why would you be lying now?
Right.
And your story is like very similar to mine and a lot of pastors who've been called. And so then it's just like that mental breakdown that you go through of like, frick, maybe, or is the scripture, is it really against it? Like, what do you do with that? As a pastor, if you believe women can't be called to be a a pastor. What do you do when the young lady stands up and she's like, no, I felt called. And she repeats the same story that you had when you got called, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you call her a liar? Like, and then
is her brain not capable of understanding what God is asking her to do?
Yeah.
Like, maybe she's misinterpreting that.
And all the
series, like those are the things that's the way you have to logic that away, you know, that you have to come up with a reason why she's wrong.
Mm-hmm. And every reason is just like, what? Because she's a woman and she's not as valuable and she's supposed to be submissive.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's confronting then when you go back to the Bible and you talked about context earlier, and how I was taught how to read the Bible in context is different than how I'm relearning how to read the Bible in context. Of before it was, you don't cherry pick scriptures,
mm-hmm.
you interpret scripture with scripture, which can work sometimes. But then, if you interpret a New Testament passage with the Old Testament, you need to at least understand how it was used in the Old Testament first.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you got to understand the culture and the context there. And then the only way we, like Southern Baptists are taught that, is you get your John MacArthur Bible Handbook, where he cherry picks cultural customs and norms, and he only puts certain things in there that fits his very distinct Reformed Baptist cessationist perspective.
Mm.
But then the reality is, it's like, some of the people write, like, the thing I've been learning a lot is there's a difference between a pastor and a theologian and a Bible scholar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your pastor, like, reality, and not to, like, put me down, but I'm on the track to be a pastor, and I have no, like, formal Bible education.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is all me just taking stuff from other people.
Yeah.
And then a theologian is just, they understand how the church has viewed things through times past, and usually in a very specific camp.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you have like a Reformed theological seminary.
Right.
That's a very specific type of theology, and that's why they're called a theologian, is they know that.
Mm-hmm.
But a Bible scholar is someone they're like going to the ruins of where all this stuff was written, and they're getting to the archaeology and the history and the culture. They're really immersing themselves in how the Bible was written to understand why it says the things it does.
Mm-hmm.
But typically what we do is we base all our cultures and our traditions in church around either the pastor or the theologian, and they write all these famous books, and then we use those to teach us how to read our Bibles. But they're not the ones actually doing the real work of understanding how the Bible is written.
They're understanding it through the lens.
Yeah.
This very narrow, like this kind of narrow lens, right? Of this is what we believe, and we're going to teach you how to believe that too, and why to believe that. I think when we use that theology, it doesn't evolve over time, right? It doesn't take into consideration our culture. Kind of has these rigid lines on what's good and evil.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? I mean, like, this is what we believe. So, but that's man's. All of that's men's perspective, men's creation. And when I'm saying man, I mean like a human.
Yeah.
Human. It's all from humans. And so when we take that theology and we say, okay, like if we're just, since we're talking about women, this is what a good woman does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I think we're overstepping our bounds. We are trying to define what is good and what is evil, right? Instead of like really understanding what the Bible is saying about women or just people in general.
And the reality is, like, the Bible is way messier than we give it credit for.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Of like,
theology has it nice and neatly packed.
Yeah.
With a bow on top.
Yes.
But when you get down to it, no, it's not.
Not at all. You got a rat.
Oh my God!
Well, our church has rats, so.
Little church mice.
Yeah. That was huge.
Yeah.
I thought I was
I think I'm gonna pick my feet up there. Oh my goodness.
Well.
It was quiet though. Like it was quiet as church.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know it was.
A little swarmy.
I thought it was like a moth bomb, and then I was like, no, that's on the ground, and that's running. Okay, we're good.
But then when life hits, that neat little package view of God and the Bible doesn't work, and it doesn't let the Bible actually speak into your situation the way it should.
Yeah. So I want to look up. I wrote it down earlier. So if you're looking at the idea, I mean, if you're talking about complementarianism, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, women and men are both valued, but what they can bring to the table is very different. What they're allowed to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And what rooms they're invited into, what conversations they're invited to be a part of is very different. But, you know, with complementarianism, it's this idea of spiritually we're better off. Like spiritually we're better off when women manage the home. You know, like when women nurture and take care of the home, and men are the leaders. Like spiritually we're better off. So this is the best way to be, right?
Yeah.
So we don't let women. I'm trying to get to the point. All right, so we don't let women, take on the role of leader, based on that idea of like this is spiritually what is better, but because the idea of spiritually what is better, that's the thing that's going to hold our society together. Like that's the thing that's going to keep us like all together, and everything is just going to be working just right.
Yeah.
But that's what we've been doing for years, is we've been allowing.
Yeah.
We've been allowing men to be the leaders and saying that if women are leaders, then everything's going to fall apart. But I would argue that men have been the leaders for a long time. And if you look at our family structure, if we look at divorce rate, if we look at single motherness, like that whole everything fell apart anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like we can't let women lead because everything is just everything's gonna fall apart. But it already has. You know, like men have been leaders, and that was the result too. So I feel like there's a point in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think if you like compare it kind of like how you're comparing it to the home, like if you compare the church to a house of like the wife and the husband are going through it, they have kids, and you take the wife out of it and the husband's trying to like manage the kids, manage his job. The house is just going to a mess. It's like a tornado hit. He can't do it all, and he sees that. And the wife, she's out there thriving. She's doing great. She's like, oh, I got my job. Like, I see my kids. Like, I got this. I've done this all my life. And you do that in the church. You take all the women out. What's going to happen to the men? It's like Animal Farm. It's all the men, or not Animal Farm, the other one about all the boys on the island.
Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
What happens with that? You don't see the women. Like, there's no women in that. All the boys go crazy. If that was...
Peter Pan.
Yeah. Yes.
Peter Pan reference.
If it was a women movie, the women are going to be cooking for each other, taking care of each other. Like, I think that's why there's no movie like that. Like, that I know of, at least. Because the women would be able to run it. That's just...
We're
my
capable.
thought. Yeah. I don't think...
But yet considered not.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so we're saying, like, everything about, like our proof by millions of examples is that women are capable of holding it together. And oftentimes we are holding it together. Like, you're talking about, like, your mom being the leader. You know, my mom. Like, we're holding it together. but yet we're not capable. Like, there's something about women that they're just not capable of leading. But my goodness, we're already doing, we're already leading, just not in the...
Y'all don't got the title, but you're doing the job.
Yeah. But we're not allowed to lead in some churches, not all.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not allowed to lead or preach or take on these senior roles, which really I think is to the detriment of society, really. There's so much there, I feel like, that is lost by assuming that there's no value in what we have to say.
Yeah. Well,
or that we're unable to say it as well as the men. I don't know. It's like in that instance, I feel like you are saying that men are the authority. I mean, you are. Yeah. You're saying men are the authority instead of like, let's back it up. Hold on. That's not, no. Christ is the authority, right?
Yeah.
That's the authority, like not men.
Yeah.
But our structure tells us that men are the authority. So that's why we have these nice little neatly packaged theologies is men have taken on the authority of the church, and then we end up with some really kind of oppressive models within the institution.
Yeah.
But again, it's not a rejection of the church or the faith, or even there's even like when. So I was reading, on this context of 1 Timothy, let's take a chapter and you're looking at the context, and I think there is some debate on what the context actually was, but this particular, and I'm terrible with remembering like where I got it and who, but he was talking about the silencing of women in the church, and he said, in that cultural time, and again, there's probably debate on this, and Lord knows, because a lot of this is assumption too, like we think we kind of have figured out based on whatever evidence that we think we have it figured out. But so he says, like, in the time where women were told to be quiet, the church or the church itself, this very crude version compared to what we have now. We have this really institutional, organized, like our Sundays, we're starting it at 10 a.m. and then we're going to do music from 10 to 10:15, and then at 10, like this very organized, very structured institution that did not exist, right? So, but we do have meeting place. We have congregations. There are people meeting during that time. They are meeting.
Sometimes in homes.
Yes, in homes. That's the church, because it was Nympha or whatever, like that was a woman who was having church at her house.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're having church at your house, you're probably one of the leaders, I would assume. But anyway, that again is assumption. So the back then it would, if you were as much of a structure as you want to give this church, you would say, okay, the women were on one side and the men were on the other. And so this particular Bible scholar was saying, okay, so at that time, the text would have been read in this, I think it was original Arabic or something like that. It was a language then, like it was a language of the text. So they're reading this, and the men understood it, and could understand what this preacher was saying or this teacher was saying, but women on the other side of the room would not know. And so they would just start talking amongst themselves, and then the conversation get louder, and the conversation get louder and louder, and he's like, hey, women, you've got to stop talking in church. Like, you got to stop, because, and then if you if you don't understand what's going on, you can ask your husband when you get home, and he can tell you what we were talking about, but right now you got to be quiet, like, you're interrupting over here. So, like, this particular scholar was saying, like, that was the structure of the church, and, like, just to assume that Paul was, like, just saying, okay, all women,
that makes so much sense.
Be quiet, don't talk in church. No, it was like a quietening. It was like a, hey, women, I want you to be mindful that we are talking about religious texts, and over here, and we are teaching the Word of God. And I understand that I understand, like, you may not understand what's going on right now, but
we'll get to it.
Can you just keep it down over there, you know? But, we've taken that kind of context and we've said that just means women should not speak in church. And if you have something to say, say it to your husband.
That was like the issue of women weren't allowed to be educated like the man was.
Right.
Which is why they couldn't understand.
Right.
Which is why they were...
Not that their little brains couldn't understand it. It was just they didn't have the access to it. They didn't have the access. I think I even have the name of that source in here somewhere. Huh. But it would take me a while to find it. But anyway, that was kind of what they were saying is that...
Holiness Church loved to use.
What is it?
Talk about your Holiness Church.
No.
Yeah.
I used... before I came to the bridge, I was going to a Holiness Church, and that was like, was their favorite thing to use for the women, because the women did not talk. They were allowed to sing the songs because one of the women knew how to play the piano, so they're like, you can play, but that's it. Like, you're done play and sing one song, and the men are gonna play the guitars and sing their song. And then after that, you're going to go sit back down, and you're going to pray the rest of church. And you're going to be silent and sit. And that's going to be all. And then you're going to go home, and if you have a husband, you're going to talk to him about everything. You're not going to talk in church. So it was very interesting, very different.
And so what does that do to the psyche of a woman and how she values herself?
It degrades very much because you, like, coming out of it and, like, not being in it before, like, I was able to, like, not, like, see the fault. But the women that's been there, like, they've been going, you look at them and you see, like, their husbands take that home and they're eating dinner and their husband's like, why are you talking? Like, you should not be speaking. You're cooking dinner. Why are you talking to me? And so then it's, like, degrading her at home. Like, she's just sitting on the couch taking care of the kids, and
there's no safe place.
Yeah. There's nothing. And then they teach their sons that, and then their sons do that to whoever they date, and it's just a constant cycle, and it's very terrible, in my opinion. I mean, that's what I think.
Right, so...
Fair opinion.
Yeah. I would think, I think valid opinion. Valid, like, you are not valuable. I mean, that is teaching, like, you're not valuable, right? Your perspective isn't valuable. Your opinion isn't valuable. If we say that, oh, no, we value women and we'll listen to what they have to say, but everything that they have to say has to be said officially by a man. There's still stuff lost in translation, right? I mean, if we know anything, it's that men and women communicate in very different ways. We love in very different ways. We feel in different ways. So there's gonna be stuff lost in translation. And you're talking about this is what their sons, how their sons start treating women. If we are modeling in the church how we want our boys who will grow to be men to treat women and value women, what lessons are we teaching them by this hierarchical structure? One of my professors, when I was going through my doctoral program, he said, well, the fastest way to become a feminist is to have a daughter, right? Because you learn right then what you think a woman's worth, or what you think so just getting kind of personal, like as a female, and I still, like I said, I had a dad who was very, like, pushing us to be independent and us to be strong and us to have, like, opinions. Still, I would say I didn't know my value, right? Like, a question of, always, and still to this day struggle with, I don't think I have anything valuable to add to the conversation. Like, so that was part of my fear in coming here, is thinking, there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to be worth anything. Like, it's my interpretation, it's my opinion, and it's valuable, right? And then constantly questioning, like, how others see me. Like, do they consider me valuable, or am I just annoying, or, like, I don't know, right? So, like, I constantly, like, in, growing up in this type of, I don't know if it's the patriarchy, the hierarchy, I don't know. It's always a question of value. I don't know if men do that, but women, I feel like, definitely do. Do you feel, like, we question, like, what we're worth? Man, the second I had a daughter, no doubt in my mind what she's worth, right? Mm-hmm. And no doubt in my mind how I think she should be treated by whoever she ends up with, and how I think that her feelings and her opinions and her perspective should be valued. And I don't know if the organization of the church as it exists now shows women that, shows women value, or shows men how to value them. Does that make sense? Like it all, it's like we are teaching males how to be male. Yeah. But women learn how, so we've got men teaching males how to be male, a Christian male, and men teaching females how to be a Christian female. But he's not one. He's not a Christian female. Right? Like, no, he's a Christian male. Yeah. He's not a Christian female. But he's trying to teach me how to be. But how does he know, like, I get that there's these principles, like there's these guiding principles of, like, this is how to be Christ-like, like this is how we love, this is how we give, this is how we serve. Like, I get that. But, so those are the things that we do. But how do we do it amidst other pressure and other responsibilities that we have?
Well, that gets into, like, the discipleship issue of, like, discipleship is not me taking a younger guy through the book of James. Mm-hmm. It's me inviting that boy into my life and letting him see what it looks like for me to live this out. Mm-hmm. That's me showing him and teaching him, hey, this is how you live as a Christian as a guy. Mm-hmm. But then if a guy is teaching women how to be a Christian woman or a Christian woman, there's an issue, because then the discipleship process breaks of they're looking at him and they're like, well, I can't enter into your life because of the Billy Graham rule of you won't be alone with a woman. 2, you're not a woman, so you can't actually show me how to be a godly Christian woman.
Right.
Because you're simply not it.
Mm. And the struggles aren't the same.
Yeah.
The pressures aren't the same.
Which makes sense why, like, even going through, like, the journey of singleness and trying to figure out what I want in a wife, I constantly hit the roadblock of, I don't know what a godly woman is. Like, that was the biggest, I've read so many marriage books by guys.
Yeah.
And I'm still, like, believing, like, so what does a godly wife do? I don't understand. Uh-huh. But that's, again, when I was like, let me, like, look around at the women in my life and try to, like, distinguish some things.
Right.
But then, as a guy, I couldn't have told you. I definitely couldn't have raised a daughter and shown her what, like, a godly woman was, because I'm like, I genuinely have no idea what you guys do. I guess y'all sit and do a Bible study on Sundays, and you clean up and stuff like that. Is that all you're supposed to do? And then that for the longest time, that's what my view of a godly woman was, is y'all do all this stuff behind the scenes.
You do these chores.
Yeah. The stuff that we don't
We're
wanna do.
really good at chores. Gosh. Yeah. So I think that's the way we marginalize, women. We're keeping them, we're not in, they're in the margins. That's the best way to say it. We're on the outskirts.
Yeah.
But if we're really trying to teach a whole congregation, they have to be part of the conversation as a whole.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know the solution to that. I mean, you are going to have a person. I mean, this is the way it's structured, and that's, I don't know. You've got a person at the pulpit, and they're going to preach, and that's what they're expected to do. That's what they're paid to do. That's why they're here.
But I guess.
And then right now, and right now in most churches, that's a man. So how do you resolve the issue of women's struggles or women's perspective? I don't know. I mean, I guess that's why I was talking about like this idea of right now we're just banking information. We're banking that theology right into our congregation's brains. Like it's just we're just gonna keep depositing and giving them what our theology in this nice little wrap package. We're just gonna keep just banking it. We're just gonna keep putting those 3-point sermons up there. We're just gonna keep doing that, and it's gonna stick right one way or the other. But not there's anything wrong with 3-point sermon, because my God, if I was up there preaching, I want to have an outline and I want to have points. I want to make sure I hit them. Like I don't want to forget anything. I don't want to be prepared too. So I'm not. Again, it's not a rejection. It's a confrontation. It's a let's address, like, okay, how is this not effective? How is it not relevant today?
Yeah.
Right. But the idea of dialogue is always relevant. The idea of learning from and teaching.
It sounds like you're
at the
just
same time
trying to push the church back to its roots. In the church is a community of believers gathered together, and we're working through this stuff together.
That's what the women's group is doing.
Yeah.
We got it figured out.
Right? I do.
We're always there first.
Yeah. And in my mind, that's where I'm like, well, maybe it is good that.
Why do we separate the men and women's groups when we're talking about conversation? We're talking about the value of conversation that happens in a women. And I'm not challenging the structure of what you have going on here at the bridge. I'm not. I'm just saying, I'm really genuinely asking the question. Is there a time, a specific time, when the dialogue is put on the calendar for men and women to actually have those conversations together, and not in a married couples seminar?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Where we talk about marriage issues or whatever, what about the other conversations about, my goodness, I mean, even the idea of women causing men to sin. When are those things, talked about or discussed? So that you could really see, like, what do you really believe about that? Like, is that actually true or is it not, When does the conversation happen where women's voices are being heard about how we view the world? And when I talk about, like, our vulnerabilities, I mean the ways in which we are vulnerable in our society. Because we're supposed to be teaching our men, our boys, how to treat and view women.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not, I don't think, not in the way that discourages actions that make women vulnerable. You talk about the hashtag Me Too movement. I don't want to get into all that. I don't want to go down that direction, but I'm talking about sort of in connection to, but I can leave it at the word vulnerable, right? Vulnerable in the workplace, vulnerable like walking into Walmart, vulnerable, to the point that like you don't go to the grocery store at night to pick up the milk. You know what I mean? Like, there are things, women, you don't do because you're vulnerable, and your fears are that you have about living life. They're valid, right? But what are we doing to teach our boys to recognize those vulnerabilities and then to like respond correctly? Yeah, change it. And given those feelings of fear validation. I mean, even so much as like you're talking about, how do you love your wife, right? Like how do you really love, or what does it mean to love your wife, or love your wife like Christ loved the church, or be a good Christian? Like, what does a good Christian husband look like? I mean, and then you too said, when men get home, men become lazy. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this about my husband, because like he steps up, and I'll give him that. Like,
yeah.
There are chores that I do that I absolutely hate, and I rant and rave when I have to do them. But there are other things. There's half of our life I don't have to worry about. I never have to worry about it, because like he just takes care of it. All right. Now, we didn't say that this half would like, I'm gonna do all the laundry and I'm gonna do that. Some of ours are divided that way. Some of our things are divided that way. But the half of like, it's late at night and I know we need milk, I'm not expected to just do it because we need it and that's something that the kids need, and so that's no. Like, he understands the vulnerability that is there, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll go, right? So there's these little things, like just understanding like this is how you step up.
Yeah. So
your wife or your partner doesn't have to fear, because you're not going to make her be in that position where she has fear. Like, if she doesn't want to go out of town, like maybe there's a Aaron out of town, like I go out of town and I got to do these things, and she's like, I really don't want to go by myself. Well, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch, my football or my games or whatever. The reason she may not want to do that alone is because there is fear there, right? Mm-hmm. So if it's something that has to be done, expecting her to do it alone, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's like you're not, like, there's little things like that. The conversations aren't being had, right? Like, I mean, we're not talking about those sort of things in church. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't feel
well, even if it's the idea of, if you're in a church where the idea is like the man is the protector.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's.
Then you're not. A lot of guys aren't even taught how to protect, like.
Little things.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't think I've really thought about like. Growing up, my mom would just go to the grocery store late at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard stories about what happens at the grocery store late at night from her, but I've never thought about like. Did y'all hear something?
I think I had like a.
Oh, okay.
yeah. Like I had like an air bubble. Like it was kind of like, it wasn't like a burp. It was like this little like.
Thought it was
bubble.
Little children.
No, I think it was
like,
me.
There's
and
ghosts
it probably
in this building. I know it.
It's a little mice over there. That was me. I think I had like an air bubble. It was like weird thing. Sorry.
I swear there's ghosts in this building. Like,
yeah, he tells me that, and it makes me scared.
There's little kids running around. I don't know.
Listen, there's nothing creepier than a church at night or a school at night. Like a schoolhouse at night.
So
oh
scary.
My goodness.
But
yeah.
I don't even know what I was saying.
We were talking about vulnerabilities, but
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we want to keep going into that. It's fine if we don't.
But I never thought about like, oh well. Even now, like me and my brother could just go, or my dad could go to the grocery store late at night. And thankfully, like my dad, the last few years, he probably does do that more, just because of the marriage dynamic shifting.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not taught that to even look out for that or to think about that as a guy growing up. You're just like,
but from the woman's perspective, it's very important.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess that's what I was getting at, like, with this conversation. Like, that's just one minor thing. And, like, yeah, and you may be like, well, if you're saying that men are supposed to be the protectors, then you're buying into that complementarianism.
I think that's just care. Yeah.
I don't, maybe, but
I think that's
maybe not.
The
you know,
reality of the
it's
culture.
just the culture. It's just like it's what's real.
Yeah.
It's what's real that women are.
It would be like Jesus with a woman caught in adultery. She's targeted for sure. Like there's issues going on in that story of why were men tracking her down, targeting her, and why were they watching her in the act? And then they don't let her get dressed or anything. They throw her exposed out in front of all these other guys to shame her. And it's never addressed of like, well, why didn't you at least let her put her clothes on? Isn't that going to cause you to lust? Like you say, and there's all these issues. But then Jesus he notices that there's a clear like power dynamic going on here. And so he turns it back on the guys and he's like, well, you like, I don't know, he notices in the woman's vulnerability in that moment. And he's like, okay, well, we're going to make the men feel a little vulnerable for a minute. And we're going to expose you guys. Of you just expose this woman and a very vulnerable spot. Well, how about I turn the question back on you guys? Are you guys perfect? Have you guys not struggled with sexual sin? Like, and then they all start dropping their stones.
But again, he's understanding the vulnerabilities there, and not every perspective of women is going to be based around, like, that's not the only lesson. That's not that's not the only thing we need to add to the conversation. There's a lot of things that would come up organically if the dialogue was happening. But maybe you understand why that's not happening. Like, I don't know why not. I mean, like why I don't know, why do we separate, in our studies? Like, I know there is value in like women being and men, but
that doesn't need to be how it is always.
Maybe not.
Of like,
I don't know. I don't have it all figured out. I'm just guessing.
But I think it's valid. Of like,
I don't know.
We do a family Bible study on Thursday nights, and
it's a blend of male and female.
Yes. And the women, they share whatever they want. Like, my mom probably hijacks a Bible study from me most of the time.
Yeah, I've got better points sometimes.
Yeah. And but it was cool even this last time of watching my mom. There's Berlin and Alyssa sitting there, and like my mom just has like she starts talking about like female issues. And like me and my dad we have to sit there and we have to listen. I don't know what the frick's going on. I don't. And it kind of goes back into that whole thing y'all were talking about earlier about like women tearing each other down.
She was talking about women being the worst to each other, backstabbing. Like, they're the quickest to stab you in the back and then be like, well, instead of patch you up.
And she was just like, we need to have each other's back. Like, she was tired of going to a certain spot where that's common for the women to do. She's like, you guys should be my safe space. And then she was just talking to Berlin and Alyssa. She's like, we need to do that. We need to be that for each other. And it was just a cool moment because
you see this shift in popular culture right now, in movies, in television, where it's a purposeful thing written in that women have each other's back. Women aren't competing. It's like popular culture has been faster to change the model than the church has, in some ways.
Sometimes as a church we need to be open and honest that the culture has it right more than we do. Of like, if we're all made in the image of God, we all have that the part of the Christian doctrine is you have God working somewhere inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not crazy to think that the secular culture may be ahead of the church on certain issues because God is working somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we notice that all the time of like, you see someone who doesn't go to church, who's not a Christian, pay for someone's meal next in line.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like the goodness of God
Mm-hmm.
working in them. They may not know it, but that's what we believe as Christians is God's doing something in their life and they don't even know it.
Right.
And the same could be true with bigger issues of like with the conversation about women
Mm-hmm.
of maybe the culture's got more God in it than the church does in that conversation.
Maybe the culture is more open to change.
That too, yeah.
If we are, let me go back historically. I'm going to do some of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's okay. I want to end this. And okay, I know where I'm going with it.
Cool.
Okay, I'm gonna readjust my feet though. Maybe the mouse is gone. Okay, so we really see a shift towards this hierarchy, like being really emphasized, in the church, especially like after World War II, right? So you have Rosie the Riveter, right? You got these women who are fulfilling all the jobs of men, while men are off to war in World War II, and then the men come home and they want their old job back, right? So women are sent back home. Mm-hmm. Like women are sent back into the household to do those things that they were doing before. And there was a general feeling of unhappiness for a lot of the women who were finding fulfillment and were really enjoying working on something other than chores. So there was I'm getting like really historic. Okay, so there was a Betty Friedan, she wrote the book The Feminine Mystique, mm-hmm. and she talks about, like, she calls it, I think it was the problem that has no name or something like that. So it was like there's something there that didn't feel right, and it made the women, like they were just unhappy. They wanted to get back outside of the house, essentially. They started seeing their value as more than just being a caretaker. So there was this big push in the culture. Magazines, a lot of sort of propaganda, really, to keep women in their place. Like, this is how you keep a happy home, right? You will be happy when your husband is happy, and you will find fulfillment when he is, taken care of. And you'll, when he comes home, you need to, let him relax, make sure that the kids are clean but quiet, make sure that the meal is prepared. You need to look nice when he comes in the door. Help him take his shoes off. He's been working all day. Don't talk too much because he's probably heard other people talk. He didn't need to hear you talk now. And it was all of these like rules of how to be a good wife, and a lot of that was put out like by magazines. I mean, it was just out there, like, this is who you're supposed to be. And then, this book comes out called The Feminine Mystique, and women start reading it, and it's like, wait. Yeah, like that's how we feel. It's like she was naming this problem. Like, we feel so discontent, but we don't know how to express it. We just know that it's there. So you kind of get to that. There's like a quote. And I did write that down. Hold on. Okay, so there's a quote in the Matrix. One of my favorite quotes in the movie. What, did you just That's because you don't understand.
I know.
You don't know what the Matrix is. You haven't discovered it.
You told me since high school.
Yeah, you got to discover. Okay, So he said, so there's one quote in the movie where like Morpheus is talking to Neo, and he says, "You're here because you know something. You know you can't explain, but you feel it, and you felt it your entire life. There's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind." So he's talking about all these, like, just feeling like you just know it's, like, you know it's wrong, and it's really, but you can't name it. So she starts talking about, it's, again, I mean, this is the idea here, is that there's something wrong, you just don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then Betty Friedan says, look, I know what it is. You want to find fulfillment in education. You can find fulfillment in the workplace. Those places just don't belong to men, like they can belong to you too. And they did belong to you, but it was taken away, and now you know what you're missing. We're not going to be happy here in this place. We know we've come out of the cave. We've seen the light. There's fulfillment outside of.
It's like, don't worry, darling.
Yeah.
Outside of what?
Don't worry, darling.
Oh, what is
you watch that?
You should watch it.
That's that. The last time I got coffee is that feminist movie we were talking about going to watch of.
What's it called? Don't worry, darling.
Yeah, it's on
It was
HBO Max now.
crazy.
Okay.
But basically, like the entire movie, she knows something is.
Like, she can see it. It's like the splinter
Like
in
a
your
splinter
mind.
in the brain. Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'll have to look into that. Okay. So she anyway, so she says your fulfillment's not here, and that's what it is, that's what's wrong. So go get educated, go get a job. Like, you don't be stuck here if you don't want to be. So, that was kind of the idea, but along coupled with that, this big push, we got to push women back into these roles. We got to put them back in their place, right? And we really, I think, in the church see that big shift too, towards that sort of like, we got to make sure women know their place. Mm-hmm. And so we start really emphasizing those scriptures in 1 Timothy and Titus and all the ways to say, okay, here's your place, and God says so, like it's right here, that this is where you belong, so don't overstep your bounds, and don't, go outside of that. So, anyway, all that to say, I don't know, I lost my point. Hold on. Went off on a tangent. Oh. We have come outside of the home, right? We're in the workplace, and we are experiencing, positions of leadership at work, right? Our fulfillment is more than just in the chores, right? So when we come into the church, it's like we're taking a step backwards in time. It's taken away from us again. Yeah. And it's becoming the problem that has no name.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess I would think, I think that's, that I know there's something wrong with the world, but I just don't know what it is. It's like a splinter in the brain. I mean, like, I feel like that was me in church, like, is me in church, for like a long time. Like, what is it that makes me feel like I don't belong, right? Like, I'm wrong and I'm the sinner.
Yeah.
Because I do not want to keep the nursery. Like, I don't want to keep the nursery. I do not find fulfillment in serving food to others or washing dishes. Like, I just assume not stay for the social if that means I have to do that. Like, I do that at home. Yeah. Why do I want to come here and do more of it? And some women, like, I don't know. I mean, I get, like,
and to give you
find joy in submission. I don't know. That does not feel like me.
Yeah.
And then when I say that doesn't feel like me, I think it's easy for people who are holding on to that scripture so literally to say, oh, it's because it's a heart condition with you, Becky. Like, that's what it is. It's you got to pray about it and God will fix you, right? Like, I'm broken.
But then
because of my personality is not that person.
Yeah.
Right.
And the reality is like, you not wanting to wash the dishes or be in the nursery. For someone raised in the context where like you should be doing that and you should find joy in doing that, their response would be like, yes, you have a heart issue, but knowing you are a very caring, nurturing person. Of me going through my dark season in the church, you're one of the people who like your voice constantly speaks through. Of like you're encouraging, you're praying for me, you're reaching out. You've done that not just with me, but with like other students that you've taught over the years. Of like you're a teacher who genuinely like impacts the kids' lives because you get involved and you care about them. So it's not. I'm
not overly involved with this negative way that people look at teachers now. But I'm just saying, yeah.
The problem isn't like if we're being honest and we're like responding back to those people who would say you have a heart issue. Reality is you don't. Like you show that in all these other areas of maybe the problem is you're not actually called to go serve in the nursery and they're called to something else. I can tell you with great confidence that God has not called me to the nursery, and I'm great with kids. Like, and I will treat them very well. And it is not, and I know how to take care of them. Like, yeah, you're a mom.
But it's not, there's not, like, I will avoid church to not have to do those things. And so how many other women are doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Because that's the expectation. Like, if you're going to participate in church, these are the things you're going to do.
Yeah.
If you're going to be part of the social structure of the church, this is the expectations of you.
And this goes.
And I'll be like, okay, well, I'm just not going to show up that day.
I think
that's very bad. I don't want, but yeah.
It just goes back to the idea I feel like we've hit on the podcast before of like maybe we've all gotten church wrong, and maybe it's okay if some of these buildings fall apart and they're left empty. I'm not saying like everybody leave the Bridge Church. We want you to stay.
It's not rejecting.
We need to, as a church, be honest. Are we following certain traditions or are we following Jesus?
Right.
And what happens when Jesus confronts our traditions? Of the word helpmate in Genesis is the same word used to describe what the Holy Spirit involvement in someone's life. And that's the same word they use to describe women in the Bible is you're a helpmate. And from my understanding, the Holy Spirit convicts and it challenges and it gets in your business and says, hey, I don't think you're living the way Jesus called you to live. And in my mind, I'm looking at the women in my life. I'm like, you guys have often called men to, or the rest of the church to become who God's called us to be. That's what Mary Magdalene and all them were doing when the disciples betrayed Jesus and ran off and were like freaking out for their lives. Of the women, they were convicting. They went out and they started preaching and they're like, hey, he told you where he was going. He told you he'd come back.
Yeah.
He's came back. The question is, where are you? Are you really committed to Jesus or are you not? In my mind, that's what the whole conversation today is about. It's like, are we really committed to Jesus? And what if we got some things wrong about women's role in the church? Like, are we willing to do the hard work of fixing it?
Right. How do you fix it? That's going to be I don't know. That's beyond. But I would say, okay, like when we talk about how men serve in the church, men can call themselves serving in the church by, I don't know, I'm just
greeting at the door.
Step on toes here, right? Greeting at the door. They can come and sit in a meeting, a business meeting, or a meeting of the trustees, or a meeting of the deacons, or whatever. They can come and sit in meetings and make decisions for the churches and have conversations.
Yeah.
Right? They're serving by being part of a dialogue, by being part of the decisions. They don't have to wash dishes to be a part of it, right? Like their role is they can feel important and they can feel valued. And then it's just a very different approach to how we show and model that men are valued. We say that women are, but are we really showing and modeling that? Like, I don't. And does that affect how many women? I mean, I know there's more women than men, right? but in church, but like, how many don't come because of that? I don't know. But I mean, I know how important, my faith is to me, and I think about the times when I've been like, I just don't want to go because I know what I'm about to be asked to do. And that, like, maybe that is a heart condition, but maybe I'm misunderstanding my calling. I don't know. Like, if we say that women can't, you must be misunderstanding that if you're called to ministry, and I must be misunderstanding it by knowing that I'm not called. I'm not called to keep the nursery. There's not, like, one of my best friends, like, loves to keep the nursery. She wants all the babies, like, just and she has kids and she's raised kids, and like, she still just loves, like, little kids. She's called to that.
Yeah.
Like, definitely, that's in her heart, right? I don't feel the way she feels. So am I broken? Am I unchristian? Is there something wrong with me? Are we telling women there's something wrong with them when they don't feel that way? Are we intending to say those things? Is that what we're intending to put out, or is it just like we haven't thought about it before and now we need to be more careful? Like, I don't know.
Definitely think it's a mix of both. Of like, some of us are just ignorant and we don't know, and then others of us, like maybe the Holiness Church, of like, it's a good example of like, no, they know what they're doing.
That's purposeful.
Yeah.
Purposeful oppression.
And so, what is that? Isn't there like some phrase like, silence is an action? And
yeah.
So,
mm-hmm. By not speaking, you've acted, right? Like, by not confronting it, you've acted and allowed it to continue without calling it out for what it is.
Yeah.
So, but when we talk about these hard lines about men and women not being able to teach men or lead men, it seems like if that were true, that would be everywhere, right? Like, if it's true, it seems like, I don't know, maybe I'm approaching that wrong, but it seems like if that's the truth, that women should not teach men, then women shouldn't be in leadership at all anywhere in our society over men.
Yeah.
Like, ever. Like in the schoolhouse or in the, But all those secular roles are fine. Like,
even our idea of when a boy becomes a man has changed. Of like, thousands of years ago, a boy becomes a man at 13. But nowadays, that's definitely not true.
No.
Of maybe 21 if they show responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just gets into like, the goalpost keeps moving, and you don't. When is it okay for a woman to speak into a man's life?
Yeah. When is it okay for them to lead?
Yeah.
And if we're a leader outside the church, and then we come into the church and we're like, sorry, something about you biologically, you're not capable of, or you're not able to lead. I don't know, I just think that's damaging to the way we feel about ourselves, and the way we feel, and the way that we feel that the church feels about us. I don't know. Kind of feels irrelevant or ancient.
But to be clear to everybody,
yeah,
the goal and obviously the bridge that this podcast mostly is for. We don't believe women can be pastors, and I get that.
Right.
But the whole goal of the podcast has always been we're going to step into tense conversations, and we're going to ask the questions of what if we got something wrong, which is why I wanted Miss Morgan on, Miss Becky Morgan. I still call you by your teacher name. That's why I wanted Miss Becky on, was because she, over and over again in my life, has made me question, who am I really following? Am I following Jesus or something else? And a lot of times it has been something else. It's been Reformed theology or traditions or whatever. And I don't have everything figured out. obviously, like, I'm still working through a lot of these issues.
I don't either. I have more questions than I have answers. Oh my goodness. Like,
Yeah.
these are all questions. Like, are we doing it right? I don't.
Yeah. I don't know
It doesn't
how
feel right. I
everything
don't know.
fits together still. But I think it's kind of like what you said of, like, there's that splinter in your mind of something's wrong. And I wonder if more people know it than I maybe have the voice to say it. And I don't know. That's what hopefully the podcast is doing, is we're making the splinter a little bit bigger. And we're, like, exposing that it's there. And we're just saying, hey, maybe we should rethink some things. Like, that's okay. Like, all throughout church history, we've had people stand up and speak out against a tradition, and hundreds of years later, we call them heroes. Mm-hmm. Like, we call Martin Luther a hero, call Martin Luther King a hero, even St. Augustine. But, like, at the time, they weren't the most loved by the church, and they were breaking a lot of rules. And I think, like, even when I have Chase on, like, that's the constant conversation we're having, is like, what if we got worship wrong? What if we got church leadership wrong? And now we're asking the question of, like, what if we got women's role in the church wrong? Like, in my mind, the thing that can keep me up at night sometimes is that question of, who am I following? And if Jesus is calling me somewhere else, am I really willing to go, even if that means you break out of your traditions and you have to go through that, the muck and the mire of doing that? But because we're not rejecting the church and we love the church, that's why we're here having the conversation. It's like, we still want to be here, we still want to be a part of it. We just want to ask if there's some things we got wrong along the way. Y'all got anything else?
I don't know. Probably, but no.